What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. You guys, welcome back to another edition of Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And you guys, today is a beautiful, glorious day. I woke up with so much energy and so much gusto and ready to start the day. And if you believe that, you'll believe pretty much anything, because that was a bold-faced lie, my friends, a bold-faced lie. I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Last night was one of those, like, I can't sleep, insomnia is gripping me. You lay in bed for hours and it's not happening. So you go down the YouTube rabbit hole. And, finally, when I was finally able to go to sleep, the alarm went off 4 hours later. And I'm like, what? I'm not ready to wake up yet. It's raining outside. It's gross. It's disgusting. But this is one of the beautiful things about quarantine, ladies and gentlemen, is that we get to stay inside in our nice, cozy nooks and homes, and we get to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news. And if you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much for watching. Come back for more. I mean, don't leave. Like, stick around, be part of the conversation. We're gonna be discussing a whole bunch of movie news. A whole bunch of things have dropped over the weekend. Some things today. We're gonna talk about those things. And maybe hopefully put them into a little bit of context. Like, what does this mean? And if you have any thoughts rolling around in your brain, any comments, any questions, jump down to the comment section below, and we'll address your comments during the live show. But before we can start jumping into the movies and movie news, you guys, I need to introduce my guest today. She is, I believe this is her second time coming back on the show. She's a good friend of the show. We've known her for a while. A movie aficionado and teacher in Atlanta, Georgia. So huge. I'm always a huge supporter of educators, you guys. Some of the most influential people in my life have been my high school teachers, and this is no exception. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ms. Larken McCord. Woo, 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 woo. How you doing, Larken?
I'm good, thanks.
Long time no see.
And I feel a little bad. It actually is a gorgeous day here in Atlanta. It's like perfect blue sky. I'm going out to the garden later, so
ooh,
yeah.
What's the humidity like? Because as we all know, on the East Coast weather is weird. It's just it's gross.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad, and I think we're gonna get up to like maybe the low 60s today, upper 50s.
Wow.
So it's it'll be a little brisk, perhaps, like a nice jacket.
But a really beautiful day.
But yeah, really gorgeous. And I am not at work, so that makes the day even more beautiful.
Congratulations. So. Now, as I understand it, you have the entire week off leading up to Thanksgiving, right? And past Thanksgiving. That's incredible.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I remember when I was in school, we I think we got the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off, and then it was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but still had to go to school for those 2 days. So,
yep. And they usually try to cram as much in on those 2 days as they could. So, yeah, it's nice to have the whole week.
That's fantastic. Well, Larken, thank you so much for joining us and helping build the community and be a part of the discussion. But before, like I said, we can get into our movies and movie news first, I got to tell you to jump over to YouTube. If you type in YouTube, or rather, if you type in Gotta Love Them Movies on any YouTube search, you will come to the page and you'll see a little red square in the top right-hand corner that says subscribe. Go ahead and click that button. What clicking that button does is it helps us to widen our subscriber base. But Mike, we're watching this on Facebook Live. Why do we have to go over to YouTube and click the subscribe button? Well, Franco, thank you so much for asking that question. It's a great question. With the more subscribers we have, the more watch content the channel gets, and with the more watched content the channel gets, I start to earn ad revenue, and I get to make the show my full-time job. So I really appreciate your love and support in that regard. And don't forget, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, this show will be moving live from Facebook to YouTube. So just something to be aware of on the horizon. All right, guys, now it's time to jump over and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
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 What? What?
right, you guys, a few things have dropped over the weekend, and they ain't no small bits of news. Our first bit of movie news comes to us from Deadline, and you may have heard of a little franchise called Predator, or The Predator, or Predators, or Predator 2. I just listed the 4 films in the franchise, not to mention Alien vs. Predator or Alien vs. Predator Requiem. So I guess if you wanna count all the Predator movies in total, this would be number 6. But I mean, did I do my math right? 4, 5, 6. This would be 7. Oh man, that's intimidating when I have a school teacher on the other, talking to me, and I just do basic math incorrectly.
I teach English, so no worries. Yeah.
But guys, so there is a new. It's no surprise. Ever since Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, now they've dropped the Fox. They're just calling it 20th Century Studios. Ever since Disney acquired 20th Century, come on, the writing's on the wall. You know that Disney's going to want to put out more films in these franchises. Predator was one of the top grossing box office action movies of the 80s. It had a really good run in the 90s. The 2000s were a little mixed. Some people... I, for one, enjoyed The Predator, directed by Shane Black, the most recent one. I know a lot of people hate that movie. There's a lot of hate for that movie. I came out of the movie thinking, what did we expect? It's a Predator movie. Okay, it's a Predator movie. It's going to be weird. It's going to be wacky. I get that they, focused too much on the story, and there was, the little kid and blah, 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 and all this stuff. Whatever. I had fun. It was a fun romp through Predator territory, but apparently 20th Century Studios is coming back. They've announced a 5th official Predator film in the franchise, and they're getting director Dan Trachtenberg, who I believe he co-wrote, but he directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. If you've not seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, holy cannoli, boy oh boy, was this is a nail biter. I sat down to watch 10 Cloverfield Lane with my mother shortly after it came out on VOD. She only made it halfway. Now, granted, my mother's an anxious person, and so movies like that kind of really get to her. So she had to stop. But if you haven't seen 10 Cloverfield Lane, it's a fantastic movie. It's a perfect nail biter. It's one of those movies that you really don't know what direction it's going in, and it really could go in any direction. And then it does go in any direction. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. So to hear that, Dan Trachtenberg is going to be working on the new Predator movie, does that mean the new Predator film is going to be incredible? That it's going to be amazing? No. Nobody ever sets out to make a bad movie. But being familiar with Dan Trachtenberg's work, I can't help but get maybe just a little bit excited. I think this is really cool. Larken, you're hearing about this. What are you... Oh.
Yeah, I don't know where my camera
Where
went.
did your camera
That's so
go?
Weird. I can still see you, and it says my camera's on, but clearly it's not.
All right.
So,
well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
This is, again, ladies and gentlemen, the joys of doing a live show, right? Joys of doing a live show. All right, so let me vamp for a few more minutes. Larken, I'm going to go ahead and hang up on you. Call me right back, and we'll pipe you straight back in.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. So like I was saying, the thing about having a director like Dan Trachtenberg working on this movie, does it mean it's going to be a great film? No, it doesn't. But like I said, knowing his work and being familiar with his work and having some kind of an idea as to what he's capable of, it lends itself to being good news. I can't help but look at it and say, you know what? I think this is good news. I think this is good for the Predator franchise. Because, again, let's go back to the previous Predator film, written and directed by Shane Black. I love Shane Black. He's got some wonderful directing and writing tricks up his sleeve. And, in case you didn't know, Shane Black was in the original Predator. The original Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was in that platoon. I believe he was the first guy to get killed by the Predator. He may have been the second. I think he was the first. I think he was the comms guy. Doesn't matter. He's like Shane Black was so familiar with the Predator franchise. He knew what was going on. And to have him come and do the Predator film, I thought would have been brilliant. It turned out that the movie he made, not a lot of people cared for, but hey, what are you gonna do? Let me kick it over to Larken. Are you there? How's the
Yeah. This is so embarrassing. I somehow flipped my Skype camera and yeah, not my other camera. So okay, I'm gonna just here. All right. So can you see me?
Oh, you're
now?
upside down. Oh, there you are. Yeah, you're perfect. There you go.
I can't see
wonderful.
you at all. So this is kind of fun. But hi.
Hey, welcome
Yeah.
back.
So what you were saying, I love when when companies like big companies take these legacy products like Predator and they bring in new people, and it just makes me so nervous that they're not going to give them like full reign.
Yeah.
So I think that would be worst case scenario if they bring in new energy and take people who have kind of a love of changing it up and kind of subverting your expectations. That's awesome. And I just hate it if the company then gets cold feet and is like, oh, but we can't actually do that cool thing you want to do.
Yeah.
That would be my.
Yeah. I feel the same thing. I mean, like sometimes there's too much red tape that happens around like these big franchises. I mean, Kevin Feige is one of those guys in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He has proven himself. So if he wants to allow a director free reign to try something new, try something like Taika Waititi is the perfect example there. Taika Waititi came into the MCU with a very clear vision. He wanted to do something wacky, and I think it's fair to say that Thor Ragnarok was a little wacky.
Yeah.
And he, of course, like we can all agree, Taika Waititi was on a short leash. He had a leash, but he was on a short leash to kind of play in the sandbox. And now that we've seen that works, and not only that it works, but it can work, I think it's interesting to get some of these other directors, going back to Predator, getting some of these other directors. And okay, granted, put them on a short leash, maybe not the biggest of leashes, because sometimes full creative reign can ruin the property. Maybe like what Shane Black did. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great example. And Thor Ragnarok I just think that was a perfect, marriage of the quirky characters and taking a kind of a left turn. So yeah, high hopes for Predator, but I'm a little bit wary of all the things Disney's trying to manage right now.
Agreed. Question is for you guys. What do you think of the new Predator movie? Are you looking forward to it? Do you think it's going to be fun? Do you think it's going to be exciting? Do you think that Dan Trachtenberg is going to elevate the material? Do you think he's going to take it in a direction where A, he wants to take it, and B, that will be pleasing to the fans? Or do you think this might be another Shane Black situation? What do you think? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, our next bit of movie news today is... To say it's bittersweet is a bit of an understatement. I don't have a lot of hope for the future in this regard, but Allison Brie. I almost said Brie Larson. Allison Brie Larson. Allison Brie was recently being interviewed. I believe it was on the BBC. It was like a podcast interview. And one of the things that they asked her about was, what do you think? Because Mark Maron has been very public in saying that, hey, if we push hard enough, maybe we, the fans and the cast and the crew and everything, if we push hard enough, we might be actually be able to get a Glow movie to tie up all the loose ends. As we know, earlier in the year, Netflix canceled Glow. It had 3 glorious seasons. 3 glorious seasons as I pull out some of my favorite Pop toys here. Liberty Bell, and the Russian. I can't remember her name. If you remember Allison Brie's character's name in the show, go ahead and comment in the section below. I loved Glow. I thought it was a wonderful show. So much fun, so much heart. And yeah, turns out that Netflix canceled it because, you know what? It's too expensive to make. What? What are you talking about? So, Alison Brie was being interviewed on the BBC, and they said, do you think that there's a possibility we might get a movie to tie up all the loose ends that we never were able to get in season? They actually filmed episode 1. Somewhere, someone has on their bookshelf a rough cut, or at least the dailies from episode 1. They finished filming episode 1. They just barely started filming episode 2 when Netflix shut it down. So we have an episode 1 somewhere that exists. That's a thing. So I don't know, Larken, it's incredibly disheartening to me to hear that we're not getting a 4th season. Alison Brie has stated publicly she's kind of pessimistic. She doesn't think that it's going to happen. I mean, she was one of the main characters in the television show Community, and one of the big things from Community was 6 seasons in a movie. So we went through hell to get those 6 seasons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. That was a rough start. We didn't actually think the next season was going to happen. Season 5 was like pulling teeth. And then season 6, Yahoo actually had to pick up the slack. But we're still waiting on the movie. Is it ever actually going to happen? Who knows? Maybe somewhere far, far, far down the line, but not anytime soon. What do you think? What are the possibilities of getting a Glow movie? And do you think this is something that is viable for Netflix?
Well, first of all, yeah, I was definitely one of the people who was kind of shocked that they canceled it. I have not seen seasons 2 and 3. I loved season 1. It was delightful. And then it just sort of fell off my radar, but I knew it was always there, right? Like I knew I could go back to it. And it just sort of seemed like something that was really key to who Netflix was. Like it was such an important part of their brand. And then, yeah, it just seems so unceremonious for it just to be cut almost, like you said, in the middle of, getting ramped up for season. I really don't know if it's a money thing. That's, I'm always cynical about
A
that
little
sort of.
dubious of.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think you're right. The community connection. That's if people can mount a campaign and demonstrate interest, then someone will see an opportunity there. But yeah, it's disappointing.
Because Netflix is notorious for pumping out like 15, 20 new projects every month. Shows or television or like movies or television shows or whatever. Like they just put out so much content that we don't even hear about, so it doesn't get watched at a high rate because we don't know to watch it. It may be a very quality show, but because, the flavor of this month is Queen's Gambit, what's next month's flavor going to be? So like it's hard. It's frustrating when you see a company like Netflix just mass produce their own stuff. And I understand why they do it. They need to compete. 80% of all the content that's watched on their service is it's like library material, stuff that Netflix does not own. And very recently a study was done how much they spend on licensing fees. It's $14 billion a year on licensing fees alone. That's not day-to-day operation. That's not general upkeep. That's just licensing fees. $14 billion a year. That's crazy. So they're currently operating in a deficit, and they're trying to reverse that by putting out so much original content that hopefully that can be self-sustaining. But models have shown that that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where, are they in a position where they could sell off properties like Glow? I don't think that would be financially beneficial, but, what are they going to do with all that content they're creating if they're not giving it a home.
I mean, I guarantee you Apple TV Plus would want to buy Glow. That
Of
is a show
course.
right up their alley.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm sure there'd be a buyer for it. It's just a question of if Netflix is, if that's part of their plan.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're a behemoth.
I don't
So
know. But guys, question for you is, what do you think is in the future? What do you think is in the cards for Glow? Do you think it's possible we're going to get a season 4? I mean, like I said, episode 1 of season 4 has already been filmed. It's in the can. It's floating around somewhere. Do you think they're going to release it? Do you think a movie is going to happen? Or do you think this is just a dead property? Jump down into the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, next bit of movie news on the agenda today. This is an interesting one. When I first heard about this, I had a knee-jerk reaction that the journals, the diaries of Alan Rickman are going to be published as a book in about a year and a half from now. My knee-jerk reaction was, I don't know, you guys. I don't know about publishing someone's journal entries or diary entries just for the sake of a buck. This is another human being's private thoughts. This is his memoirs. These are his private thoughts. But as this particular article in Variety points out, let me see if I can find this as we scroll through. Here we go. As top paragraph right here. As reported by The Guardian, Rickman's journals covered everything from thoughts on acting to insights or friendships and politics. The avid theater goer also reviewed plays he attended and shared behind-the-scenes stories from the set of Harry Potter, which he was a part of for about a decade. Goes on to say the 27 volumes of handwritten diary spanning more than 25 years of Rickman's life and career will be edited down into a single book. The British actor began writing his journals in the early 90s. This is the key part. This is the most important part of the entire article, you guys. In the early 90s with the intent of publishing them. When Rickman started this personal project, his career had taken off with roles that included, Valmont in Les Liaisons, Royal Shakespeare, as well as, playing Hans Gruber in 88's Die Hard. So, like I said, when I initially heard this story, I had a knee-jerk reaction of, just leave it alone, you guys. This is not necessary. These are his private thoughts. But as the article points out, Alan Rickman wrote these journals and diary entries with the express intent of having them published. How we know that information is a little ambiguous, but if that's true, let me back up a second. If this is true, I think this is a great thing. I think that's awesome. Like I said, right now we have no way to verify the truthfulness of that statement, but it's coming from Variety. This is not like some side gas station, third-party movie news website blog, right? This is Variety, a well-respected, like they do their homework. They're not going to publish rumors. This is a real thing. So could they have gotten it wrong? Yeah, there's a possibility. Everybody gets news stories wrong from time to time, but chances are very likely Alan Rickman's journals were written with the intent of being published someday. I think this is a really cool idea. Larken, have you heard of this before? And would you read something like this?
Actually, I think this is really exciting. I love Alan Rickman. I've been a fan of his seeming evilness since Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh, yeah.
He was such a delightfully awful sheriff of Nottingham. And this is one of those places, sort of like you said, I trust Variety, and I do think that the people who are managing his estate have their, I think they have their wits about them. And Rickman, I think, if I'm recalling correctly, was sort of known for being a pretty introspective person. I think he had done a lot of writing of notes and whatnot to especially his younger castmates for Harry Potter. I could be totally making this up, but I feel like I've heard this. So it would kind of be, I think, in keeping with what we know about him, that he was someone who was observant and felt like he did have a perspective that he wanted to share. So I think yes, I will, assuming we find out that they're all on the up and up, I'm totally on board. Bring
Also,
it on.
keeping in consideration that Alan Rickman was one of those icons that people just gravitated towards. He's an interesting human being. I don't know if even more interesting of an actor. I don't know if that's proper to say, but his acting style, his choices, his roles, like, I mean, I'm sorry, but Severus Snape and Hans Gruber are arguably his most popular characters that he's ever portrayed. I mean, you just pointed out the Sheriff of Nottingham. That was my first introduction to him. That's the first time I learned
Right.
about Alan Rickman, and I was
But
just captivated by it.
I mean, and I think his film, roles clearly are sort of a piece. He does have that kind of weirdly romantic turn in Love Actually.
Mm,
But
mm,
as a stage actor, he had tremendous range. I mean, his Hamlet is pretty well respected. I think that was in the 80s. So I think that's another thing too. By the time he became kind of a film person, he had done the work, right? Like he
right.
kind of had a perspective going into the whole Hollywood world. And I think that's one of the reasons I would be really interested in some of the stuff that he was saying in the 90s, to come from that background and really see what, the movie industry is about.
I agree.
Fascinating.
I think this is a really interesting, not just idea, but something that has been prepared for. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what was it, 28 years of written history condensed into one book in journal format. I think that's a really cool idea, especially with the intent behind being to publish these thoughts. What do you guys think of it? I think this is a fantastic idea. I'm really looking forward to reading this autobiographical journal,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what your thoughts about it are. All right, guys, we have two more stories to cover before we jump in and take your live questions. This news broke yesterday, or I'm sorry, excuse me, on Friday. We didn't have a chance to cover it on Friday. It was later in the day, and stuff started happening, and now here we are on Monday. Black Panther. Black Panther is going to start shooting in July. It was announced, not just is it going to start shooting in July, but they've also cast what is looking like the main protagonist. If anyone has been watching the Netflix show Narcos Mexico, I guess one of the stars of the show, Tenoch Huerta, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Tenoch Huerta. If I'm mispronouncing that, my apologies. But it looks like he is being cast as one of the main protagonists of the film. No details have been made regarding any new casting announcements, nor have any announcements been made regarding what is going to become of the role of Black Panther. Now, of course, there's been plenty of speculation since the death, the sudden, shocking death of Chadwick Boseman. To he and his family, this probably wasn't quite so sudden. They knew that he was battling cancer. They knew he had been battling cancer for a while, but this was not public knowledge to the rest of us. So now the big question has been, are they going to recast? Are they going to write out the character of T'Challa and respect the acting done by Chadwick Boseman? If anybody's been watching the show, you know where I stand on this matter. I feel that after an appropriate amount of time has passed, they announce, so-and-so is going to be playing. I think they should recast. I think it is improper to tell the stories that they want to tell. But then again, I don't know the stories that they want to tell, right? It only makes sense to me to recast the role. My opinion is that they've already recast the role. They already know who's going to be playing Black Panther, or rather T'Challa in the next film. This is my own opinion. I don't think that they dare announce that anytime soon. I think a proper mourning period needs to happen. And then once everyone's had a moment to kind of like take a breath, then I think Marvel is going to announce what they're going to do, specifically who is going to take up the reins of T'Challa as Black Panther. Now, a lot of people have speculated that the role of Black Panther is going to be passed from T'Challa to his younger sister, Shuri. There's precedent. This has happened in the comics. This is something that the fans want, by and large, maybe want to have happen. There's a huge pushback to say you can't. Well, first of all, we already know that there's not going to be a CGI Chadwick Boseman. I think we can all agree that's a bad decision, and B, just weird. That would just be weird. I don't think anybody wants to see that. But I'm on board with team recast. Larken, where do you stand with this? Are you team recast or are you team Shuri? Where do you stand?
Well, so, and I have not followed the comics, but some people that I follow on Twitter, sort of the comic purists, are saying that that's the appropriate move because there is some precedent for that. I think there's also enough sort of space in the comics that it's not as if there's one right answer. I had not heard what you just said about the CGI piece. I was kind of bracing myself for this, movie magic of we're gonna splice in old footage and da 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 da. I was ready for that.
I think if the Rise of Skywalker has taught us anything, it's that is just a bad idea. Bad idea.
Right. Yeah, that was exactly where my mind went too. So, I think that's a good move not to do that. It's funny, and I wish this wasn't an issue, but I do feel like Marvel's gotten so much pushback for some of the other characters that it's really highlighting some women characters in other properties that I really feel like there might be some resistance to promoting Shuri, even though she's wildly popular. Everybody loves that character. So yeah, I don't know. I think you're right, though. I think the recasting could happen. I
think maybe for like a Black Panther 3 or maybe like I don't know, Avengers 5 or something like a future story installment, it would make sense to pass the mantle of Black Panther down to his little sister, to Shuri. But so here, like in my mind, the main news story right now is that Marvel has already announced that they're going to start filming in July, which you live in Atlanta. They film in Atlanta. You might hear a little bit more buzz than I do. Yeah. But if
just see what actors are in town,
right? Well, hey, you and Tom Holland are hanging out all the time now, I guess, because he's down there right now. But but the way that I see it, they've already announced that they're going to start filming in July, right? Which means they've announced the start date. They know when they're going to start filming. So my thought process is, if the articles that had been published are completely true about who knew prior to Chadwick Boseman's death, who knew that he had cancer, Kevin Feige probably knew. There's hello, kitty.
Speaking of Black Panther,
I know, right? There's a very strong chance that Kevin Feige knew. There's a very strong chance that Bob Iger knew. There's a very strong chance that Ryan Coogler knew, writer and director. Like a very, very small key group of people may have known. We don't know. There hasn't been confirmation yet as to how much awareness there was, but we knew that Ryan Coogler had written the script, like he'd finished the script before the death of Chadwick Boseman. And that was a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago, not quite. So given that bit of information, let's just go ahead and say it was 2 months ago, because I can't quite remember dates off the top of my head. Let's just say it was 2 months ago. You can't rewrite an entire feature film in 2 months and then say, all right, boom, here's going to be our filming date. It is possible, having said that they're going to do rewrites to rewrite the character and figure out how to pass the mantle down to Shuri in the next 7 months before they start filming. I don't see that happening. I think the timetable is I think the window is too small. And to deliver the type of product that Marvel is known for delivering, I think 7 months is too much of a truncated time window. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I guess no one has told us who knew what, but if Kugler had any intimation about this, then I think you're right that this would be something that was, if not, anticipated, was at least acknowledged as a
Yeah.
possibility. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the narrative, because yeah, I mean that is a really fast timeline, and it just seems really, again, talking about just the idea of the shock and the respect for the work and all that good stuff. I would be surprised if people were moving forward that quickly, if they really were starting from, complete zero.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, it's a quick. What's the term when they flip a table in a restaurant really quickly? Just
Yeah,
turnover, right?
turnover, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
high turnover. Anyway, guys, a question is for you. What do you think about the news that Black Panther will be starting to film in July? That's only 7 months away. It's not that far out. So it's not a crazy thought to think two things. Either A, that they have already recast the role and they're moving ahead with the original script, or B, 7 months is a tight window to rewrite an entire feature film, but it's also not outside of the realm of impossibility. I mean, if COVID has taught us anything, it's that something that was impossible yesterday now suddenly is possible today. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, we have one last bit of movie news to cover before we take your live comments and questions, and that is this. Oh, you guys, Deadpool 3. It is official. It is official. Disney. Let me clarify. It is official that Disney is moving forward to make a Deadpool 3 under the MCU, under the Kevin Feige family banner, right? What is not official is that the film has been greenlit. The movie has not been greenlit. There's no pre-production starting yet, but as is being reported in all the major trades right now, predominantly here in Deadline, Disney and Marvel Studios is moving forward with a Deadpool 3 film, working with Ryan Reynolds. Specifically Ryan Reynolds, Kevin Feige, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Molyneux sisters. If you're not familiar with the Molyneux sisters, they are Emmy award-winning writers on the show Bob's Burgers. If you've not seen Bob's Burgers, go watch Bob's Burgers. It's totally worth your time. It's silly, it's fun, it's funny, it's wacky, it's zany. But it's also like it has a little heart to it, and it's fun. It's great. It's a wonderful show. And like I said, not only has the show won multiple Emmys, the Molyneux sisters, as a writing pair, as a team, they have won awards for this show, at multiple Emmys for this show. So news that Marvel, Kevin Feige, Disney, Ryan Reynolds, they're all coming together and they're bringing in the Molyneux sisters to pen a new script for Deadpool 3 in all of its irreverence. Here, let's jump down to the article real quick. Deadline is saying, so they are breaking the story. This is an exclusive. As Disney continues to figure out what to do with Fox properties they acquired in the merger, one of the biggest IPs, Deadpool, looks to be gaining momentum. Sources tell Deadline that Wendy Molyneux and Lizzie Molyneux Loughlin to write Deadpool 3 with Reynolds set to reprise his role as the wisecracking superheroes. Writer meetings have been taking place over the past month, with Reynolds recently meeting with a handful of writers to hear their pitch for the next installment. In the end, The studio and Reynolds saw the sisters take as the perfect fit for what they wanted. The film is still in early development, but the hiring of the Molyneux sisters does mark the first major step in getting the next Deadpool film into production. You guys, this is just the best. Thanksgiving came early, ladies and gentlemen. Thanksgiving has come early. What a Thanksgiving miracle this is. Deadpool Deadpool is one of those properties that, first of all, nobody ever thought would have got made. Nobody in their wildest dreams. Let's rewind like 10 years, shall we? If you remember, 10 years ago would have put us at 2010. Just 6 years later, we get a Deadpool movie. 2016, I believe, was the first Deadpool movie. Who in their wildest thoughts ever stopped to consider that, like, hey, where we are in the world right now, specifically in movies and cinema and storytelling and, comic book superheroes, we never thought that we'd get a proper Deadpool movie. And now we have two. I actually prefer Deadpool 2 over Deadpool 1. I think it's a superior film. I like it better. Whatever. They're fantastic. And now to think, again, we live in a pandemic. Things that were impossible yesterday now suddenly become possible today. Who knows if the pandemic has had any real impact on the creation of Deadpool 3? Who knows? But like I said, this is a Thanksgiving miracle. I am so stoked to see what a Deadpool movie under the MCU banner, an R-rated Deadpool 3, is going to look like. Now, it's probably not going to be under Marvel Studios banner. It will probably, but then again, who knows? Like, who knows? Who knows what the Molyneux sisters pitched to Ryan Reynolds and to Kevin Feige and all them. But it seems that this is something that they like. This is a good direction for them. It's probably going to be released under the 20th Century banner, and it may not have any connections directly to the MCU. If it does, great. If they can figure out a way to do it, awesome. If not, okay, I'm fine with Deadpool just kind of staying in that same universe that he was before. It's wonderful. It's a breath of fresh air. Larken, are you a fan of Deadpool, and are you looking forward to this? Does this sound fun to you? Where do you stand?
Yeah, this definitely sounds fun to me. Based on your recommendation, I'm going to go seek out Deadpool 2, which I have not yet seen. I enjoyed the first one, but I did not.
Now, just so you know, there's two different versions. There's Deadpool 2 that was released in theaters, like the theatrical cut, I guess. And then, just to kind of make maybe a little bit more family-friendly version of Deadpool, they did a PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2. It's the same exact movie, but there are cut scenes where they, the storytelling device from The Princess Bride, where you have Columbo sitting at the bedside of, Fred Savage. They recreate that. So it's a grown-up Fred Savage in his bed on the set of The Princess Bride, and Deadpool is playing the part of, what's his name? Peter
Falk.
Thank you, Peter Falk. He's playing the Peter Falk character, but they're breaking the fourth wall the whole time. Like, Fred Savage is playing himself, Fred Savage, and he knows he's an actor who's been kidnapped by Deadpool. So it's a storytelling gambit is all it is, and it's really fun and silly, and it's just a way for them to make a really hard R-rated film cut down into a PG-13 format, and it works. It's fun.
That's fun. I mean, so I'm struck. I love how you sort of juxtaposed Black Panther and Deadpool, because I think in some ways it's just this idea that on the one hand we have the weight of a franchise and expectations and so many voices and people involved and just this whole it's the whole universe, well, literally universe. And then compare that to Deadpool, which is just this bizarre, scrappy, and it really seems like Ryan Reynolds is having the time of his life, and he has, I think that if it gets made, it'll be because of him, right? Like he loves this, he enjoys it. I heard was, according to the, the trades, he had been courting the Molyneux sisters and was sort of, really I guess, an advocate of their involvement. So it really seems like this is one of those places where, as long as people, the business folks, don't get too, nervous about it and just sort of let the kids have their fun, like it seems like it's going to happen. So
now, I mean, this is just pure speculation on my part. It probably doesn't even bear mentioning or bringing up, but I know in the comics, Deadpool is a gender fluid character. He's not heterosexual. He's not homosexual. He is what he is. He just goes off and lives life, right? In the films, there has been a huge hesitation not just in the Deadpool movies, not just in comic book movies, but in storytelling in general. We're becoming a little bit more comfortable with the subject of being gender neutral and fluidity in our sexuality. In a Disney-run MCU, I mean, who knows if he will be in the MCU? Who knows? It might just be a standalone 20th century production. But, in being in the comics, he doesn't have any particular gender affiliation. Do you think that there's a possibility they may introduce something like that? But I understand you haven't seen Deadpool 2, but I mean, it's wacky. It kind of goes along with the idea of what and who Deadpool is.
Right. I mean, and I think if you're gonna, we're committed to having a white cishet male guy playing the role, and like I said, he seems to be pretty integral to the whole thing. Then yeah, I would love to see them mix it up just with other storylines or ways that character moves through the world. Yeah, it's interesting. Just when you were talking, it kind of reminds me of some of the characters on Big Mouth, like we start to see like this kind of like people who just enjoy, other people, and it's not quite as rigidly defined. So I would love to think there's space for that in the in the Disney pantheon. It probably wouldn't be under the Disney label. I'm reminded, I think Julia Roberts 1,000 years ago talked about when she made Pretty Woman. She's like, yeah, technically that's a Disney movie because Disney owned Touchstone.
It's true.
But they're gonna, separate themselves from the product. So, they've got enough labels. I'm sure they can find a place for it that wouldn't be too shocking. But I hope they can pull it off.
I do as well. I really hope that they can pull it off. But the big question is for you guys, what do you think is going to happen with Deadpool 3? Are you looking forward to it? Are you over the Deadpool franchise? Do you think they should just pull the plug? What are your thoughts and theories for how they could put Deadpool into the MCU? Because we know Bob Iger and Bob Chapek have both been very explicitly clear in saying, we need to protect the Disney brand. You can't have, a Deadpool character running amok all throughout Disney. I mean, can you imagine Deadpool on Disney Plus? Here you go, kid. Have the remote. Have free reign. What are you watching? I can't imagine Disney being that particular type of open, but if there is a way to introduce Deadpool into the MCU, how do you think that they're going to do it? Do you think they will do it? Do you think they will just keep it in a self-contained 20th Century Fox banner? What are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know what those are. All right, guys, so with all of that done and out of the way, you have been firing a few questions and comments throughout the live show. Now we're just going to go ahead and take those now.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Firing in in some live questions and comments throughout the show. So let's start at the top. Let's get Larken up here. There she is. And let's just start going through. First comment is from longtime watcher of the show, Matthew Wiles. Very good friend of mine, Matthew. I was just texting Matthew last night, as a matter of fact. Matthew, all the way from Leeds in the UK, says, the Predator franchise needs to die. They have tried so many angles on this, but it's not working. I will disagree with you in just one moment. Ooh, pardon me. Got a little too much carbonation in my body. Predator was such an iconic movie. I don't know what the recipe is for a good Predator film, but it's definitely R-rated and not a 12. 12, if no one is familiar, that's the rating system in the UK. Instead of going G, PG, PG-13, and R, the UK does, I believe it's U, and then G, and then PG, and then 12, and then 15, and then 18. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, but I believe that's the rating system. It's a little bit more intuitive. So yeah, I think 12 would be a little bit more of like a PG-13. 18 is definitely an R, and then a 15 is kind of like a half medium in between there somewhere. So Matthew, you say the Predator franchise needs to die. So many different angles. It's not working. Predator is such an iconic movie. You don't know what the recipe is, but it's definitely got to be R-rated and not like a PG-13. I agree with you on the last, but yeah, The Predator by Shane Black, I believe, was a PG-13 movie. Predators with Adrian Brody actually was a decent film. I think it performed pretty well in theaters. I think it was generally respected by audiences. It was an interesting idea where instead of going to an alien planet and hunting whatever it is that the predators hunt on that planet, they brought humans to their own planet, let them run free, and then they hunted them on their own ground. I think that was a really creative approach to the Predator franchise, to the Predator idea. But yeah, I mean, what is the recipe to make a good Predator movie? Predator's never been like one of my favorite IPs, so I haven't really spent the time to like analyze or like deep dive, and I think that's why I do enjoy The Predator by Shane Black, because I'm not invested in it. I think that's why a lot of people like the Jurassic Park movies or the Jurassic World movies, because they're not emotionally invested in it like I am. The most recent Jurassic World, garbage. It was terrible. But I think your average going movie audience is like, hey, dinosaurs chasing and eating people. That's all we want to see. Okay, fine. If that's what you want, have at it. Larken, where do you sit with this? Do you think that they can make a good Predator movie, or they should just knock it off?
I mean, I think you hit the nail right there. Like, it's I am not aware of a Predator fandom that is so emotionally invested that they're gonna really care either way. And maybe that's on me for not seeking out the Predator fandom. I think it's one of those things. Folks have enjoyed the movies. It is what it is. I think the ship has long sailed on big companies like Disney or whoever, not just remaking their franchise things. So I get that maybe as a purist, it would be nice to have something different, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I say, just bring it on.
Yeah, why not? I mean, like, as you point out, like the fandom of Predator, it's not Star Wars. Star Wars fandom is so crazy. Predator fandom isn't to that level. So I think they can still kind of get away with making more movies and just making them fun romps through the jungle. But yeah, I agree with you, Matthew. I don't know exactly what makes a good Predator franchise or story, but let's keep exploring. Who knows? Like, it's not. I don't feel that in the social consciousness, it is such a precious IP that we need to protect it. It needs to be respected to a certain level. Yeah, I mean, because it's had its longevity. What? Almost 30, over 30 years now. Predator's been going, but I don't know. We'll see. Karen Alties. Aw, Karen. Karen Alties says, good morning, Mike. Good morning, Karen. Netflix just raised the price. Did they? Hang on a second.
13 something.
Was that today?
Maybe the weekend.
I didn't see that. Oh, well, I mean, I hate to say it, but what did we expect? What did we expect? It went from what, $11.99 to $12.99?
Yeah.
What did we expect, you guys? I mean, Netflix is running in a deficit. There's another YouTuber, John Campia. He broke down. He did this whole breakdown of Netflix to compare it to Disney Plus and how Disney Plus is going to make a profit with Black Widow going straight to streaming. So definitely go check out the video. He goes into much more detail with all the numbers and all the math. It's really interesting. Just look up John Campia on YouTube. You'll find the. In fact, I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna link it in the description of this video. So go and check it out in the description below. But he points out that Netflix is running in a $5 billion a year deficit. That's a lot of money, but they planned for it and they have a strategic plan, blah, 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 whatever. Not the best position to be in, but, yeah, what do we expect? Especially in a pandemic when everyone is supply and demand, Matthew Weil says, no one watches Apple TV, Mike. They wouldn't buy Glow. Fair. I mean, yet there's not a lot of, it doesn't have, Apple TV Plus doesn't have the numbers that Disney Plus is doing. They don't have the numbers that Hulu is doing. They don't have the numbers that obviously Netflix is doing, but they have really quality stuff. Have you watched any stuff on Apple TV Plus, Larken?
No, yeah, yeah. I'm one of those folks who's like, oh, right, that's the other one.
Right. And that's the thing. There's so many streaming services now that when you hear about Netflix going up by $1 a month, it's like, okay, it's $1 a month, but come on, you guys, where's the limit? I'm already paying $50, $60, $70 a month in all of my streaming services. Knock it off. But what do we expect, Karen Alty says, loved Rickman, Alan Rickman, and if he intended to publish, then great. I can't wait. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I think it's going to be a really interesting read. Larken?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think he's, again, just a really thoughtful person, and everything we found out about him, especially since he passed, yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Same. Colleen Fox. You go by Nora. And I say this every time you comment. You go by Nora, but I'm going to call you Colleen because that's the name you gave me in college. Nora. So Colleen says, before you read the bottom line of the article, I think this is about Alan Rickman. Before you read the bottom line of the article, my initial reaction was it sounded like Alan Rickman may have had some intent here for these journals to be published post-mortem since he was so diligent about it. Yeah, I mean, I think, Larken, you pointed this out yourself as well, right?
Yeah. And again, I think that's very much in keeping with what we know about him, just as a, not even just as a performer, but as a creator, someone who really enjoyed the creative process and working with people. Yeah.
And it's clear.
I'm getting more.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm getting more excited the more we talk about it. Yes.
It's clear he loved what he did.
Yeah.
He loved what he did, and he was great at it, and people loved him for loving what he did. I think it's the perfect merriment, and to hear his thoughts on the craft and pull the curtain back a little bit and see behind and how is the acting sausage made? I think that's going to be really fascinating,
I have to say, I am interested to see who edits that, because clearly it's going to be a lot of material, and to get it into one book, I think that'll be interesting to see how they package it, I guess.
I think they mentioned that.
Okay.
Let's see. He continued documenting his career, Harry Potter movies, Love Actually. Publisher Canongate has acquired the rights to the book. Here, let me bring this up on screen. Let me bring this up on the screen so we All can see what I'm reading. So right here in the middle, publisher Canongate has acquired the rights to the book, reportedly titled The Diaries of Alan Rickman. It will be edited by Alan Taylor, editor of the Scottish Review of Books, who also put together The Country Diaries, a collection of pastoral journalists from Beatrix Potter, Dorothy Wordsworth, John Fowles, and more. But yeah, so it's going to be edited, or rather compiled and edited by Alan Taylor, but published by Canongate. So
Sounds like some cred, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's just going to be like a willy-nilly.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Or I don't think it's going to be exploitative, someone just trying to dig out the most, scandalous parts or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad it's probably not going to go in that way because, I mean, we already have too much salacious material. I want some hard, cold facts right now.
Yeah, and if Maggie Smith is like a just a really evil person or kind of a slut or whatever, that would be cool, but I kind of don't want to know, Yeah.
I agree. I like Maggie Gyllenhaal right where she is. Matthew Weil says, I bet you £100 it's going to be John Boyega as Black Panther. Matthew, I hate you. This is an ongoing argument between Matthew and myself. He believes that John Boyega, if they are going to recast Black Panther, he thinks it's going to be John Boyega. I do not see that happening. I don't think John Boyega is strong enough of an actor. Look at the acting style of Chadwick Boseman, and then look at the acting style of John Boyega. They are not equal. I mean, I don't even know if Boyega would be interested. I mean, I think he's so done with that kind of film experience. I don't think he's into it. He's been pretty vocal, especially recently. Wasn't over the weekend news broke about he and Kathleen Kennedy had words about racial tensions on the set of Star Wars, or like something along those lines. I didn't get into the article, so I may be grossly misquoting it. But yeah, I'll look more into that. But there's
I see him going more of like the Robert Pattinson, like just kind of do your own quirky thing.
Well, that's the thing. He needs to strengthen his acting ability, I think. He wasn't a train wreck in the Star Wars movies. He wasn't, but he's also by no means acting-wise the strongest. I don't think anybody was the strongest of acting in the Star Wars sequel films. But I mean, he's got some work to do ahead of him. I think that would be a very strong. Pardon me. I think that would be a great move for him, is to kind of follow in Robert Pattinson's shoes for a little bit.
Do some quirky character things, not franchise. Yeah.
Agreed. Matthew Wiles goes on to say, it can't be Shuri. Her character is not violent. And also the flowers were burnt by Killmonger. Yeah, so I mean, Killmonger in the first movie, if you haven't seen, he burned all of the Black Panther magical power flowers that gives them the Black Panther abilities and whatever. I think they can easily kind of get around that. Like, Wakanda is just a magical place. These flowers grow everywhere. You have an easy out there. But with Shuri not being violent enough, I think she can be.
All that takes is an instigating event.
Yeah.
Like, all you need to do is give her a reason to be violent. And I mean, that's every superhero backstory,
I think Avengers Endgame is reason enough. Yeah. I think it's reason enough. Yeah. Look at the events there. I don't know. Colleen Fox says, just pointing out the extreme coincidence of the Black Cat appearance during the Black Panther discussion. Right?
It was like he felt called. Yeah.
Larken, what's your cat's name?
That's Spike.
Aw, I think that's a great name for a spike. For a spike. What do you call your Spike, cat? What do you call your cat? Spike. It's perfect.
Yeah.
My cat both my cats, Minerva and Harwood, are not in the room at the moment. Otherwise, I'd have them pop in and say hi.
Yeah, it's probably a smart move.
Matthew Weil says an R-rated Disney Deadpool who now exists in the Marvel Universe is just amazing. It is, but also with the asterisk, we don't know exactly which universe he's going to be in yet. I really hope that they can find a way to introduce Deadpool into the MCU, because I'm sorry, a wisecracking Deadpool, even if they do, like, I don't think that they need to make the Deadpool movie PG-13, but obviously, like, the character needs to be PG-13 if he appears in Avengers or Doctor Strange or something like that. I mean, I think there's a valid argument to say that Deadpool might pop up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as like a quick cameo. Maybe. Who knows?
I think it would be a lot more fun for the Avengers for those characters to pop up in Deadpool.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
I think they would have such a great time getting to be a little looser and a little
I think that's something that we all want to see, but at the same time, I don't see the studio doing that because they need to protect their. I mean, can you imagine, like, hey, here's Doctor Strange and Black Panther and Captain Marvel appearing in a Deadpool movie. It's got to be wholesome and family friendly, right? Probably.
They could be shocked. They could be. We could just see them on the screen being like, "Oh my!"
Well, do you remember when parents took their kids to go see Deadpool 1 for the first time in theaters? Hey, it's a superhero movie. We're just gonna take our kids. It was rated R. Like, do your homework, guys. Why are you being offended right now?
Yeah, that's a poor choice.
Colleen says, if Disney wants to protect the Disney brand, stop buying the rights to IPs like Deadpool. Otherwise, sell the rights. Nominee? Name-me? I don't know. Oh, were you trying to say, am I right? And this just auto-corrected? I think that's what you were trying to say. Am I right? Otherwise, sell the rights. Am I right? Yeah. No, because Disney needs the way. Okay, again, like going back to that John Campea video that I was referencing, talking about how Netflix business model versus Disney Plus's business model, and Disney has been very, very vocal in saying that Disney Plus streaming is the heart of the entire company right now. This is the direction that they're going in. Yes, we're still going to get big feature feature films. Whatever happened to Focus Films? They just got acquired by somebody else. But yeah, I mean, they're still going to be putting out big movies. But Disney Plus is that's where it's at. This is where they are putting all of their focus and attention into right now. And keep in mind, they also have Hulu. So, I mean, if they want to, let's just say hypothetically, they want to put out Deadpool 3 as a streaming film. They're obviously not going to put it out on Disney Plus, but they can put it out on Hulu because Hulu is owned by Disney, and that's their kind of like, that's their Touchstone Pictures. That's their Pretty Woman type banner umbrella right there. So they have an easy out. I think it'll work. But yeah, and it's making them money. Like all of this Aliens, Predator, Die Hard. What are the other 20th Century Fox property? Like so many. Huge library. That's what they paid for. They bought 20th Century Fox for $73 billion. I think $74 billion. $74 billion. That's what they spent to acquire Fox. But it's the library that is going to, like, they're going to earn all that money back in the next 5 years. By 2023, I think, is when they're going to start churning a profit. It's incredible. Matthew Wiles gives me an update on the rating system in the UK. It goes U for Universal, PG, which we all understand, 12A, 15, and then 18. So I think I added a G in there that doesn't exist. I think G and U are synonymous. So U, PG, 12A, 15, and then UK. So I think you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have 4, so yeah. Colleen says, Nick, we only have a few comments left. Netflix is still cheaper per month than buying one lunch during the work week on the Northeast coast, and also massively cheaper than cable. That is correct. That is correct.
Facts.
If you pay for cable, like, I don't know what it's like in Philly, because Colleen lives in Philly. Here in New York, I think our cable packages start at like $113, something like that. And that's like phone, cable, internet. But you can't get cable without getting the other packages. What is it like for you in down in Atlanta?
Same. I was going to say, I don't think anybody knows exactly what they're paying for cable because it's all part of a bundle or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, you are more than correct. Massively cheaper. Colleen says, Mike, call me whatever you want, with a little smiley, laughy face. I will call you Nora Colleen, who found... Here's a true story. True story. This is the first day Colleen and I met. I was moving into the dorms to the Art Institute of Philadelphia in Center City, Philly. If you're familiar with Philadelphia, it's the cross streets of Broad and Chestnut. The dorms don't exist anymore. There's if you know the Olive Garden restaurant and the Capitol Grill restaurant, the entrance to our dorms was right in between those two restaurants. It went Capitol Grill on the corner, and then the Art Institute dorms, and then the Olive Garden in succession. That was us, right on the corner of Broad and Chestnut. So my first day of college, it was like January 3rd, I believe was the day that I moved in. 2005, drove down to Philly, had my parents move me in. Colleen was the RA working in the dorms, and she was assigned to help me move into my dorm. It was like an apartment style dorm. So we're moving into the apartment, moving all my stuff in. She opens the coat closet, finding a massive box of VHS naughty videos. There was a big box of naughty VHS videos in the closet. I didn't have any roommates. Nobody was around, so nobody could claim this big box of naughty videos. And she just opens it up, and there it is. And she and I look at each other, and we're like, And my parents were standing right behind me because they were helping me move in as well. It was a whole thing. So that was the first story. That was my first college story. Is that my RA and I found a big box of naughty videos in the closet. So she took them off to the garbage room, and off they went. And they were not there an hour later. I kid you not. We took them into the garbage room, whatever. An hour later, I went to go drop off more garbage, and they were gone. Somebody fiefed them. Colleen says, no, Namani. I know what you mean. Namin. Get with the lingo. Jeez.
oh, okay.
All right. So, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. She goes on to say, Nora Colleen is literally my name. LMAO. It's true, Nora Colleen. But I just know you use Colleen because Nora sounds weird in my brain. Matthew Weil says, I can't wait for John. Matt, I hate you. I can't wait for John Boyega as Black Panther to be announced and watch you squirm on here. LOL, love you, mate. I love you too, man. Who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen. Who knows the world that we live in nowadays? Here's the thing, Matt. If that happens, if John Boyega is cast as Black Panther, I feel like we have to set up stakes. I feel like we have to have some kind of bet on the line. I don't want to say pick any toy from my collection here. Here's the thing. I will make 5 selections of toys from the wall behind me. I will pick 5 different toys. And if John Boyega, this is real because it's on the internet. If John Boyega is cast as Black Panther, you can have your pick of any one of those 5 toys that I put on the market. I'll let you. I'll have to figure it out. I can't think right off the top of my head. I will pick 5 different items. you get your pick of any one of those 5 if John Boyega is cast as Black Panther. Deal? Cool. Last comment is from Colleen, and she says, OMG, this story with the monkey hiding its eyes. Yeah, it's true. I mean, that was a true story. Colleen, I know that you love to tell the story, so I just told the entire internet this story. You're welcome. It's a true story, because, I mean, it happened to both of us. So we're like, what in the world? Matthew Wiles follows up by saying, it's on. It's on, sir. So if John Boyega is cast as Black Panther, I will pick 5 toys, and you can have your pick of any one of those 5 at no expense to you, sir. Okay, guys. So this ends the show. We've gone through all the comments. We've gotten through all of the movie news for the day. Larken, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending some time out of your busy day. I know we have an earlier start time from 4 p.m. to 10 a.m. It's a huge jump. Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.
Do us a favor and tell our watchers and possibly listeners where people can find you online and what fun projects you have coming up in the future.
Yeah, so I am on the Twitter and the Instagram at MLMEMMELLEMM. And for us down in Georgia until January 5th, it's going to be a lot of political content still. So
sure is.
Getting excited for the Senate race. But that's pretty much what I've got going on. And school, of course, and, you know, the coronavirus and trying to figure out what we're doing.
I'm sorry, the what virus? I've never heard of this.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Larken, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your expertise and knowledge to the show, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Happy to do it.
All right, guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what John Boyega as Black Panther would want you to do. All right, guys, my name is Mike. This is... Sorry, I've totally forgotten my... I clicked the wrong button and it threw me for a loop. Thanks for watching. This is Gotta Love Them Movies, your daily dose of movie news. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. You guys, we live in a weird, crazy world where people have their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little kindness into the world, if you have an opportunity to speak kind words to each other, I highly implore you, take those opportunities, and in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I'll see you guys tomorrow.